What is something unrealistic that you often see in movies that annoys the hell out of you? The disregard for basic physics. Overall lack of communication. I feel like 90% of all drama is coming from this in some way. There's never a platonic relationship between a guy and a girl. It's always romantic by the end. High school scenes where there are lounges in the hallway and students are free to be wherever they want to be around the building. No matter the time of day without consequence. When the mum prepares a feast for breakfast and everyone only takes a bite or two before rushing off. My mum would have killed me for wasting food. Also, she wouldn't prepare a feast for breakfast. People living in these gigantic NY or LA apartments while working jobs that realistically could never pay for such a nice place. Omniscient bad guys. I know you have to have the plot move forward. But dude is trying to hide in Europe and somehow the villain is always where the hero wants to go before they get there. I mean, Europe is pretty damn big. And I can't imagine getting totally lost there would be all that difficult. Nobody opens the door 2 seconds after the doorbell rings. Nobody. People doing CPR. Then the person who just got CPR wakes up like 10 minutes later and eats lunch. Also, movies are really bad at maintaining sterile fields in operating rooms. 1. When the entire plot rests on a character not explaining something that can be explained in under 1 minute. 2. Characters making the dumbest, most unrealistic choices just to further the plot. 3. Unnecessary sex scenes that add nothing whatsoever to the movie. 4. Ordering at a restaurant and only taking 1 bite and leaving. 5. In a post-apocalyptic world somehow all cars on the road are parked or stranded in such a way that our main character has no problem driving between them. 6. Witness protection somehow always fails in movies. What's wrong now, Carla? Well, big sister, you just haven't been the same since you had that run-in with your classmate Peter at the bar. Where I've been working since I dropped out of college. Due to having an abortion. Calling someone. And then instantly start talking. I don't know why exactly, but that has really bothered me. You didn't even let it ring. The old. You cough. You die. Stalker-ish behavior being portrayed as romantic. The man in a relationship being portrayed as a near brain-dead doofus. Sometimes in sex scenes, the guy will just undo his belt and immediately stick his piece right in. No foreplay. No lube. Just immediately right in within seconds. My wife and I call it Mad Men style sex. Because almost every sex scene in Mad Men was like this. I know it does happen. But Hollywood thinks all sex is immediately penetrative, and the woman is coming immediately. Gun silencers being that quiet. In reality they're like the sound of someone clapping. How bad the villains always are at shooting. Don't get me wrong, Star Wars wouldn't be the same if Luke gets scalped by a stormtrooper 30 minutes into the first movie, but good God are they bad. Someone shooting 683 rounds from a 1911 without reloading. Everything is always so dark. And no one ever bothers to turn the lights on. Even when they do. It's like a 10-watt bulb in a warehouse that only illuminates 2 feet around it. The total lack of acknowledgement of water needs when people are wandering around in post-apocalyptic settings. As a hiker and backpacker, awareness of my next water source is a huge issue. Scenes where a group are passing around a single canteen, some pouring water on their heads, are obviously scripted by someone who has never been out in the wilderness. Someone gets hit so hard that they fly through a wall. Then they get up and keep fighting. No. You're going to spend the next year learning to walk again. Computer work is only done via vigorous typing on the keyboard. Never a single mouse click. People getting knocked out cold for an hour. Then waking up and going about their day like nothing's happened. I once got knocked out for like 2 minutes and ended up sick for a month. People shooting guns. Especially pistols. From well over a reasonable range and hitting very small targets. With one hand. While running or something. People would be surprised how difficult it is to hit a target with a pistol from 15 to 20 yards standing still with 2 hands. Pretty much any police detective show. 1. Female detective constantly wearing high heels. Which would be uncomfortable alone and very challenging during the inevitable foot chase scene. 2. Immediately upon discovering evidence at a crime scene, they will pick it up using a loosely held glove or the tip of a pencil. In real life, evidence needs to be documented, photographed before handled, and how lazy are you that you can't properly slip on a glove? 3. Just about everything else forensics-wise. Everyone with loose hair. Rarely wearing gloves. Every fingerprint or other piece of evidence is relevant to the crime. 4. The crime scene line is like 10 feet from the body, so the public has a great view of everything, and of course any nearby evidence is destroyed. 5. Every time the cop says that you have to tell me X or I am going to arrest you for obstruction. Edit to add a few more that drive me crazy. 6. The main detective realizes there is an active violent situation or someone's life is at immediate risk. Cue them driving across the city lights and sirens and being the first to arrive. Like they couldn't send a local patrol car. 7. Every radio broadcast. Never waiting for dispatch to respond. Rarely use call signs or give enough information. 8. Investigating cases with a clear conflict of interest or personal connect. But nobody cares because somehow you're the only cop that knows what to do somehow. 9. The main characters seem to witness major crimes during the off-duty time almost every other episode. And of course over the series each of them will be framed for a crime and will have to personally investigate too. Clear their name. 10. Suspects rarely have a competent lawyer and will immediately confess and provide their motive upon being shown the slightest bit of circumstantial evidence. Mostly in rom-coms. People randomly running into each other out in public. Like, how small is your town that you bumped into the same person 3 days in a row at a restaurant or bar shop? Sprinklers going off indoors. When this happens in the movies, people are super excited. Laughing, jumping around and playing in the water like it is raining. In reality, the water in those pipes is absolutely disgusting. Dirty. Smelly. Black water that would make most people run like hell to get away from. Source. I used to install sprinklers in buildings during my high school summers as a part-time job. My son-in-law is a video game programmer and it drives him crazy when in cop shows movies they use a computer to search for a match to fingerprints or a face and the screen scrolls with the images flashing on the screen. He's like, do you know how much computing power it takes to render all those images? The computer doesn't need to flash them on the screen. Playing video games, randomly mashing all buttons at the same time and pressing R1 per liter 1 and R2 per liters 2 for no reason. When two characters do something simple like glancing at each other and then the romance has started. If a man and a woman bump into each other and some music plays, that's enough to ensure the romance has begun. I bump into guys all the time. Where's my boyfriend? Most fight scenes. Bar fight. Guy gets hit with 6 broken chairs. Several bottles broken over his head. Still gets up fine and fights off like 20 other guys. Real fighting is the most physically exhausting thing you can do. Your average person would barely last a minute. Most street fights are 1 of 2 punches before they get winded. Athletes have to do insane amount of endurance training and conditioning to be able to fight. 3 minutes in the ring will feel like a lifetime. Beyond that, too many such injuries will completely knock you out or be fatal. Again, on the street, if you punch someone, knock them out, and their head hits pavement, there is a fair chance you just killed them. Even then, most head injuries you just don't get up and keep fighting from. But because of Hollywood, every jackass thinks they can take on 20 guys at once or would do awesome in a fight. I am 76 years old and have been buying things in stores since I was 5. I have never ever seen someone toss some money on a counter and say keep the change and then dash out with the purchase. When the plot completely ignores the events that just happened to take a wild twist. Everybody acting like the heroine is plain. She's wearing glasses and a baggy sweater and a ponytail. But her face is perfect. Her teeth are perfect. Her skin is perfect and she hasn't got an ounce of fat anywhere. High schoolers who look like fucking supermodels. Unrealistic wealth. Typical family with 1 working parent has a 4-bedroom house with in-ground pool. College graduates living in some swanky penthouse on a babysitter salary. 24-year-old doctors. Overall lack of communication. I feel like 90% of all drama is coming from this in some way. People pass out instantly from chloroform. I work in a wet chemistry lab. And have used chloroform as an extraction solvent outside of the fume hood. It does not knock you out that easily. There's never a platonic relationship between a guy and a girl. It's always romantic by the end.